Welcome to my YouTube channel. If you enjoy these videos, please click like and subscribe. And also, if you click the little bell, you'll be notified of future videos. Lizzie Borden took an axe and gave her mother 40 whacks. And when she saw what she had done, she gave her father 41. We're going to do a tarot reading on Lizzie Andrew Borden, who was the main suspect in the murder of her father and stepmother. She was born July 19th in 1860 in Fall River, Massachusetts, to Sarah Anthony, who passed away in 1863, and Andrew Jackson Borden, who passed away in 1892. Through her father, she was of English and Welsh descent. Lizzie's father, Andrew, grew up in a very modest surroundings and struggled financially as a young man, despite being the descendant of a very wealthy and influential local residents. He eventually did prosper in the manufacturing, furniture, and caskets and went on to become a successful property developer. He directed several textile mills, including Globe Yarn Mill Company. At the time of his death, his estate was valued over $300,000. Despite his wealth, Andrew was known for his frugality. For instance, the Borden home lacked indoor plumbing and electricity, although it was a common accommodation for wealthy people at the time. The residence at 92 2nd Street, which was number 230 after 1896, was in an affluent area, but the wealthiest residents of Fall River, including Andrew's cousins, generally lived in the more fashionable neighborhood called The Hill. It was further away from the industrial areas of the city and was the place that they chose to live, his cousins. So Borden and her oldest sister, Emma Lenora Borden, who was born in 1851, and passed away in 1927, had a religious upbringing and attended the Central Congregational Church. She was very involved in teaching Sunday school. 3 years after the death of Lizzie Borden's mother, Sarah, Andrew, and by the way, Lizzie was 2 years old when her biological mother, Sarah, passed away. So at the age of 5, Andrew married Abby Durfee Gray, who died, of course, in 1892 on August 4th with Andrew. Lizzie stated that she called her stepmother Mrs. Borden and demurred on whether they had a cordial relationship. She believed that Abby had married her father for his wealth. Lizzie loved animals. She built a roost for pigeons. She loved dogs and was very upset when any of those had died. So she was an avid animal lover. There was tension in the family when months before the murder, especially over Andrew's gift of real estate to various branches of Abby's family. After the stepmother received a house, the sisters demanded and received a rental property, a home they lived in until their mother died, which they purchased from their father for $1 a few weeks before the murder. They sold the property back to the father for $5,000. The night before the murders, John Vinicum Morse, the brother of Lizzie and Emma's deceased mother, visited and was invited to stay for a few days to discuss business matters with Andrew. Some writers have speculated that their conversation, particularly about property transfer, may have agitated an already tense situation. For several days before the murders, the entire household had been violently ill. A friend later speculated that mutton left on the stove for use in meals over several days was the cause, but Abby feared poisoning, as Andrew had not been a popular man. The day of the murder, John Morse arrived in the evening of August 3rd and slept in the guest room. After breakfast, at which Andrew, Abby, Lizzie Morse, and the Borden's maid Bridget, who they called Maggie Sullivan, were present. Andrew Morse went to the sitting room and they chatted for nearly an hour. Morse left around 9 o'clock to buy a pair of oxen and visit his niece in Fall River, planning to return home for lunch at noon. Andrew left for his morning walk sometime after 9 a.m. Although the cleaning of the guest room was one of Lizzie and Emma's regular chores, Abby went upstairs between 9 a.m. and 10:30 to make breakfast. Or to make the bed. I'm sorry, they already had their breakfast. According to the forensics investigation, Abby was facing her killer at the time of the attack. She was first struck on the head with a hatchet, which cut her just above the ear, causing her to turn and fall face down on the floor. Sorry for the disturbing pictures. So there was, she was, of course, dead, most likely on the first blow. She would later testify, no, let's go back and take this all in order. So the mother was killed first, all right? She was struck multiple times. Her killer delivered 17 direct hits to the back of the head. So they really wanted her dead, 17 hits to the back of the head. Now, around 10:30, quarter to 11, Andrew came home, but his key failed to work, all right? And so he knocked in order to get attention of somebody in the house. The maid went to unlock the door, finding it jammed. She was confused by this. She would later testify that Lizzie was laughing after this, but she did not see Lizzie coming up from the stairs. So it was considered that at this time, Abby was already dead on the second floor. So Lizzie later denied being upstairs and testified that her father had asked her where Abby was, and she replied that a messenger had delivered Abby a summons to visit a sick friend. Lizzie stated that she then removed Andrew's boots and helped him into his slippers to lay down on the sofa for a nap. Now, this could have been contradicted by the crime scene, but this is what sorry for the gruesome photo. This is the father, deceased. As soon as he went to sleep, he was attacked also with the hatchet, struck 10 or 11 times. We don't have to go into the gruesome details, so let's not. So Lizzie Borden's initial answers to police officers' questions were strange and contradictory. Initially, she reported hearing a groan or a scraping noise, a distress call. 2 hours later, she told police she heard nothing. She entered the house not realizing anything was wrong. When asked where her stepmother was, she recounted Abby receiving a note, asking her to visit a friend. So the sister wasn't even home, so Abby was there. Sullivan and a neighbor, Mrs. Churchill, were halfway up the stairs, their eyes level with the floor, when they looked into the guest room and saw Abby laying face down on the floor. Most of the officers who interviewed Borden reported they disliked her attitude. Some claimed she was too calm and too poised. Despite her attitude and changing alibis, nobody bothered to check her for bloodstains. The police did search her room, probably, who knows how well they searched their room. I mean, they were criticized for their lack of diligence, the police were. They found 2 axes, and a broken-handled hatchet on the property. However, they didn't really have blood on them, and they couldn't really match them up to the bodies. So Lizzie and Emma's friend Alice Russell decided to stay with them the night following the murders, while Morse spent the night in the guest attic, which was also contrary to later accounts that he slept in the murder site guest room. Police were stationed around the house the night of August 4th, during which time he did see Borden enter the cellar with Russell carrying a kerosene lamp and a slop pail. He stated that both women exit the cellar after Borden returned alone. He thought he was unable to see what she was doing as she was bent over the sink. On August 6th, police conducted a more thorough search of the house. Borden appeared at the inquest hearing August 8th, and her request to have her family attorney present was refused under the state statute providing that an inquest must be held in private. Lizzie was prescribed regular doses of morphine to calm her nerves, and it's possible that her testimony was affected by this. Her behavior was erratic, and she often refused to answer a question, even if the question would have been beneficial to her. She said she had removed her father's boots and put slippers on him, while photographs clearly showed him wearing his boots. The district attorney became aggressive and confrontational. On August 11th, Borden was served a warrant of arrest and jailed. The trial began in June of 1893, and Borden possessed a stolid demeanor, bitter lips, and bent forward toward her attorney during the process. So she was supported by the members of her church who believed her to be innocent. But in the end, after the court could not find her guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, and it would have been death by hanging, she was actually acquitted of the murder. So she lived her life out in Fall River, although her and Emma purchased a house on the hill in order to be with the wealthy relatives or cousins. They named it Maplecroft, and this is where they lived until Emma became tired of Lizzie having a movie star over and parties, and so Emma moved away and never came back to visit Lizzie again. However, right up until her death, Emma stayed by the fact, or what she believed, that Lizzie was innocent of these murders, right up until her death. And by the way, when Lizzie died, 10 days later, 9 or 10 days later, the sister who was 10 years older also passed away. So what we're going to do with the tarot cards, now that we kind of know like the basic story of this, is we're going to ask the tarot cards to go through and tell the story of what happened the morning of this murder. I really like to have the cards just start from the beginning and talk our way through. I'm going to start out using the Haunted House Tarot deck. When I do this, I want you to also pay attention to what's on the cards, because the artwork gives so many clues, and you might find things that I don't. So as we go through this, please say in the comments, Melanie, I noticed this, I noticed that, because it's so important. We can work together. More eyes looking at this, the better it's going to be. Maybe you'll disagree with one of my interpretations. I'm good with that. I'm always open for a discussion. I think knowledge isn't fixed. I would rather have a mind opened by wonder than closed by belief. So I'm really open to anything that you guys would come up with during this reading. So we're going to start out with the Haunted House Tarot. And I'm going to ask the cards, walk us through the first murder. What happened when Abby was murdered? So let's go, however the cards are going to pick it up, I don't know. But then we'll also use a go-to deck, because this deck is Haunted House Tarot and it's theme-based. And your theme-based cards, you can't 100% rely on them all the time because they're always going to be scary. This is the Haunted House Tarot, okay? But the imagery is going to be applicable for a murder. Okay. What happened the morning that Abby was murdered? Abby would be the stepmother. Here's a woman. And if you need to know the card, it is the 2. Must be the High Priestess because she's got a scroll. So she's got a scroll in her hand. And she's really focused on something. So she's, B and J, that's the temple. So this is the High Priestess card. Ooh, this is about things that are hidden information. Being secretive, being sneaky, being hidden. So, in this card, this is interesting. She's kind of sitting in a room or in a closed off space. Actually, it looks like it's outside, but it looks like this was contemplated, like premeditated. Getting the idea? She knew that this murder was going to be planned. Oh, here would be the sister going off. I feel like this is the Six of Cups, but I feel like it's the message. A message was delivered and the sister was conveniently not in the house then. So somebody wanted the sister gone. So to me, that represents the sister getting the message and going to the friend's house. This is the Four of Wands. Oh my. This is almost like a disguise. And then there on the second floor, the murder is being done. See the murder being done? And this is like, it almost feels like there's a disguise. Don't you guys feel that? What do you feel? It feels like there's a disguise going on there. And there's the mother laying on the floor. You know, to me, this is the murder now. This is the murder at the hand of someone murdered. Interesting, we can't see who this is yet. The cards are like leaving us in suspense, you know, as far as telling us who was motivated for this. And here somebody is outside. Now, we know that Lizzie loved animals. So here she is outside. So is this indicating that she was outside during this murder, which, you know, because somebody getting whacked 17 times, if you were in the house, you would hear that. You would hear that all that noise of that. Five of Cups. This is the suffering card, and this is also the hidden. This is a hidden card. In the normal tarot, it has a cloak in it. Now there's drinks there, making me wonder if they were drinking something to make them, abnormally tired, so that they would be laying down and easier to murder. So there's some drinks there. We'll pay attention to that. Oh, Nine of Pentacles. This was money. And now I have all the money. All right. We're going to go to another deck now. That kind of tells us like the motivation could have been financial. But I'm going to go to my universal weight now and say the same thing. Take me through the murder. Take me through right up until the murder of Abby. You want to know about the murder that was going on of Abby. So here's the Judgment card. And to me, this reminds me of like coffins, people in coffins, and judgment, somebody being judged, right? Somebody was being judged. And there's oh, this is weird. This is almost like, tells me like they're together in heaven. Like he chose to be with her. No, this almost feels like maybe in spirit world he went back to the biological mother. But anyway, this tells me that in spirit they're together. The dad and the mother are together in spirit. Oh, I know why I thought that, because she had a health condition that took her early. I felt, so that's why maybe that's just telling me that. Oh, this is interesting. It's almost like in this tarot reading, when this shows up, it's like the getting help from the divine. I love it when that happens in tarot readings. So we're going back to Abby's mother to tell the story, right? So we have kind of somebody either bullheaded, somebody that was bullheaded and stubborn, or a Taurus. And this is somebody focused. And we have to see this from a higher perspective. Okay. Oh, money. I think money was the motivation. This is Ten of Pentacles. This is Ten of Pentacles. Now, remember when he was talking business with the house guest? And it feels like somebody could have been listening, talking about the properties. Here's properties in the back. Here's wealth. I feel like because of the other cards, that this is the same theme. This is money. This is the whole basis of this murder is money. I really feel, yes, fortune. They wanted the fortune. And this was premeditated, calculated out, done by the books. Let's do this by the books. Let's calculate it out. So this was a calculated murder, and the timing, oh yeah, justice will be served. Well, it wasn't in this case. It's not solved yet. Maybe it will be solved when we do this reading. Maybe not. We never know. So, and I feel like this is also traveling away. Like the younger sibling here and taking the younger sibling away. So I feel like this is somebody driving the younger sibling away so they can visit someone else during the thing. So I'm still waiting here. Oh God, we got the same High Priestess card. This is definitely hidden, and has been hidden. This is so weird. Okay, well, we know part of this is they wanted this to really be a secret. Oh my gosh, we have the same Nine of Pentacles. Okay, this is money. All right, so we know, and there's a lot of things that happen to be money related. And by the way, Lizzie and her sister did inherit. They did inherit from the father and lived a very affluent life after he passed. So I'm going to actually ask the Anna K. I feel like I want to ask who murdered, and I feel like I want to know Abby first. Who murdered Abby Borden? Who murdered her? I feel like it's this card here. Oh, woman, longer hair, fiery personality. This is the Queen of Rods. This is a woman with a weapon in her hand. There's a weapon in her hand. Now, this is interesting because they're showing her with a sunny disposition, which is why the church, said that Lizzie had a very sunny disposition. She's a very happy woman. She just had trouble with her nerves. Four of Pentacles, she was hiding. See, hiding? She was stayed hidden. She was like hidden. Look at the money, coins in the bag, grabbing onto the money. This was about money. Oh my God. Really? You want money enough to murder a father and a stepmother? That's just bizarre. Do you think that the drugs or the morphine maybe got a hold of her? Was this Lizzie, this woman? Because we don't know. Maybe it was, Lizzie was the one in the house. Was Lizzie the one that did the murder? I'm just going to point blank ask the cards. Here it is. You want to see it? This is it. Was Lizzie Borden the one that committed the murder? There you have it, the Strength card. And a woman chained up. Why am I'm focusing on, oh God, Lizzie loved animals. Lizzie long hair. Don't these women look very much the same? And Lizzie had an affinity for animals. But she wanted the money. Now remember, her dad would have raised her very frugal, like literally, everybody else had power. Now I want to tell you something else that dad did. He didn't approve of really either one of the girls dating, so they never were able to get out and meet anyone and get married, and they weren't able to have families. They were just really sheltered. And I believe that Lizzie was like 32 years old, and like she was like 32 years old, and maybe she just had enough of that lifestyle. Maybe she just had enough. This is really looking like Lizzie. And And I'm just going to ask, what was she thinking to murder her father? What was Lizzie thinking to murder her father? That her life would be happy, 10 of cups, and maybe she would meet somebody and have a family. She was alone. She was alone. She was like what you'd call an old maid or something like that. And she was by herself, getting older, not getting any younger. She actually thought her life would be happier if the father maybe wasn't in the life, and the stepmother. So did she regret it after she did it? Did she have regrets? 3 of Wands, she kind of did ponder it. Like there's somebody pondering it. How did she possibly hide all the evidence? She had no blood on her, but she allegedly did burn a dress that she said had paint on it. And the sister stood up and said, yes, I told her to burn that because it did have paint. So I don't know. The sister lied for her for some reason. So I want to ask, how did she cover up the evidence? How? Because there had to be blood everywhere. How did she cover up the evidence? Buried it. She buried it. She buried it. And you know, if they didn't do a good investigation, she buried all the evidence. Oh my God. Even the hatchet she buried. That's why they never found it. They had natural hatchets in the house, but they wouldn't have had any blood on, and you know, they weren't the right ones that were used. Can you believe this? She buried it in a very remote location. Look at the remote location. This isn't like, you know, at the house. This was in a remote location somewhere that where somebody, I mean, to this day, they haven't found any of that stuff. Oh, look at this. She buried it. I mean, if this isn't clear, folks, what is? We have pentacles being buried. We have a big, deep hole with a shovel and money being buried. She buried more than just the evidence. She buried more than just the evidence. And it is very possible that Emma left with the stuff when they were questioning Lizzie, that Emma could have had everything and buried it. Emma could very well have known. Let's ask, did the sister Emma know that Lizzie murdered the father and stepmother? Did Emma know about this murder? Oh, I have to tell you something. There were 3 daughters born in that family. 1 died. So the 2 left were Emma and Lizzie. And I feel like this represents a close family bond. See, there is a bond. I feel like Emma knew. Now here's the sister that passed away when she was young. But these 2, look at the bond. Look at that holding of the hands. I think Emma knew, but she was going to carry that secret to her grave, as did Lizzie. So those 2 ladies lived a very luxurious life. You know, normally I don't tap in to people who do murders, but I feel like this, like she only murdered this one time, and of course she was watched and ostracized and treated really poorly for the entire rest of her life. The town just believed she got away with murder. And so I'm actually going to tap in. I know I probably shouldn't, but I'm going to ask Lizzie, come forward. I want you to come forward right now. And I want to ask you, now that you're on the other side, did you do it? I want to ask her to see if she'll admit up to it. This is the steampunk, by the way. It's the deck that I use. Lizzie, come forward if you will, please. Please come forward. And did you murder your father, Andrew? Did you murder your father, Andrew, and your, so I feel like, you know, she's coming through. She's above the clouds. I feel like she's like in good health now. So I feel like there could be a little bit of, oh my God, but she was times when she was a monster. Oh yeah. I feel like she had a lot of fear. I'm sorry, the devil. I feel like, okay, I feel for one thing she's talking very formally. And I also feel like she's saying that she had really big fears. And this is also an addiction to medication. So I feel like she's coming through and she's saying that this medication, you know, took over her. Like this is what she's telling me. Like this, it turned her into like a monster, the medication. And we know she was given morphine for her, and it was a very confrontational household. She's just like, there was a lot of confrontations between the father, the mother, and Lizzie. So this is like, a lot of disagreements. So I feel like the household was having a lot of disagreements. Well, this is interesting because it feels like, so there's two people together in the afterlife, but I'm not sure if that's her and her father or her and the sister. It feels like the sister died pretty close to her, and the two of them maybe could have, gone into the afterlife or are in the afterlife together. Do you have any guilt at all? Do you have any guilt on the other side of that about this, these two people that you were responsible for having them die? She's peeking through the veil, the Page of Pentacles. I had a very difficult, poor childhood. Very difficult, poor childhood. So it's almost like she's trying to make an excuse of like, poor me and my childhood. And I didn't have control over my life, the charioteer. She goes, I didn't have any control over my life. Okay. So what... So she said, like, my sister and I had to do everything. Her sister and her had to do everything because the father was just always too busy. He was always busy with, his paperwork in the banking industry, and they had to do everything. This is what she's telling me about her life. And she did it to become wealthy. Do you have any regrets right now? Do you have any regrets at all that you did this? Yeah, I think she does. So there's the grave. There's the death. There's the... oh my God! That's a hatchet. That's a hatchet, guys. This is the long handle of like an axe or a hatchet. Oh my God, what's that? That's like she's got hatchets in both hands. And the death of him. The death of him. I think she does have regrets in this card. Were you able, I don't know if this is possible, when you murder someone, can you see them in the afterlife, even if they're your parents? I feel like I want to ask, were you able to see your father when you passed away? Were you able to meet up with your father on the other side? This is going to be interesting. I feel like this is what she's telling me. I was too defiant. And this is the child. I was a defiant child. I don't think she did. She's like, I was defiant. I don't think she did. I don't think she met up with him. This is her, defiant page. I was a defiant child. And I think she was troubled and she just didn't look him up. Wow. So what's happened to you now in the afterlife? What has happened to you now? What are you doing now in the afterlife? She's with her sister. Okay. And they've made peace. Like they've made peace. This is actually like a happy card. Like they've made peace with what happened in their lives. And so that's very interesting. I would now like to connect, if I can, with Andrew Borden, the father. I don't know if I should be doing this, but Andrew, do you have anything to say? Do you want to connect? I know you don't believe in tarot cards or anything, but no, too much loss and pain. Too much loss. It's too painful for him. And I'm not going to do it then, folks. When you get the Three of Swords, he's like, this is too painful for me. So even now, you guys, this is too painful, and I'm going to honor that and say thank you. We're not going to do that. We're going to honor what he chooses to do. So Lizzie Borden, the woman that, she did get caught shoplifting so many times. It's almost like she did that for either attention or because they lived so poor and she knew they were wealthy and they were forced to live poor. And so she was, shoplifting. That doesn't make you a murderer, but in this case with the lion there, and she loved animals, I think the cards were being, pretty clear that she did murder the stepmother and the father. What I want to ask the cards is, if her real mother had lived, this is my final question, if her real mother would have lived, would Lizzie have still murdered the real mother and father? Would she have committed the murder if the real mother hadn't have died? If the real mother hadn't have died, would Lizzie have murdered the mother and the father? No, her childhood would have been much happier. This is the childhood Six of Cups card. She would not have done it. She wouldn't have done this so something was not right at age 5 when that stepmother came in. We don't know the whole story there, but she would not have committed this. She would have had a much happier childhood with the real mother. This is the happy childhood card. So I think circumstances, no one deserves to be murdered. No one, ever. But whatever happened to Lizzie Borden in that household, and the combination of her maybe being on the morphine, caused her to murder 2 people. She was the only one in the house. She's the main suspect. The cards are pretty much saying that she did it. What are your thoughts? What do you think? So that's my reading for today. I want to thank all of you for being on my channel. This is a very tragic part of history, but very much real. And I appreciate you looking into this, and leave your comments. If you have additional insights, I really encourage you to leave your comments below. Thank you so much.